Hello everyone, it's Nina. Thanks so much for joining me today. Okay, so by now you've probably heard about the new Simon Says Stamp Among the Stars release. This release is absolutely fabulous. You are going to love all of the fun products that are included in this set. I'm going to be using a few of them here. You can see I've got the Build a Rainbow die set, and I absolutely love this die. This die caught my eye the minute I opened up my box of goodies. I wanted to dance. It was so absolutely fun to see this die. So here you can see it's got this great die that cuts all of these rainbow arch pieces perfectly, all in one pass. I absolutely love how easy this is to build rainbow cards. Another new product I'm going to be using, this came out just recently. This is the Happy Days die set that coordinates with the Happy Days stamp set that came out as part of the May card kit. I'm going to be using these dies to help build my scene for my card. And I'm also going to be using this Uplifting Thoughts stamp set, which has a bunch of positive and uplifting sentiments included in it. And I'm actually really excited about this one because I designed this. So this is a really special one for me and I couldn't wait to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and use all of these products in our card today. I'm going to start off by die cutting the rainbow from some watercolor paper. This is some Strathmore watercolor paper. I'm going to trim this out with my Tim Holtz scissors. I'll go ahead and run this through my Bake Shop machine. You can use any die cutting machine that you have on hand. After I've die cut this, I'm going to remove all the pieces from the die and I'll go ahead and lay them out. I'm going to be doing some watercoloring with these. You could color these however way you want. I actually contemplated doing some ink blending. You could do Copics, any type of coloring medium that you prefer. I'm going to be using the Zig Clean color markers, however. To do this, I'm going to add color along the most extreme ends of the rainbow, and I'm going to go ahead and blend this out with some water and a paintbrush. I'm using an empty water brush to do my painting, but again, you can use any paintbrush that you have on hand. This is just the one that I ended up grabbing out of my jar. For the next color, of course, I'm going to do orange. I'm doing this, of course, like I said, in rainbow order. So I've got red for the first color, and then I'm using orange. And I'm starting off with the biggest stripe and going towards the smallest. And I'll keep doing this until I have all of the stripes colored with my Zig Clean color markers. One thing I want to mention about the Zig Clean color markers is that these are a really fun product to be able to use. You can actually use a lot of fun techniques with these with using water. I'm actually going to be showing you that later on shortly as I finish up this coloring. But these markers are not only good to blend with water, but you could also blend them with each other. So I could have actually blended these rainbow arches with other colors of the Zig markers. So like say I took a light blue, I could have blended it with a dark blue. And instead of using the water brush, I could have blended those two colors together to create a different appearance. But I wanted to be able to have that softer color in the center area of my rainbow arches. So that's why I'm going to be doing it this way. Again, keep in mind that you can also use other types of mediums with this as well. You could even die cut this from cardstock if you didn't feel like coloring. Alright, so I'm going to keep finishing up this coloring. I've only got a few more to go. I'm doing some darker blue. I did a bunch of light blue colors and now I'm doing some darker blue. I'm also going to add in some purple. Another fun way I thought to use this die would be to skip every other arch so that you ended up with some space in between each of the rainbow arches. So there's a lot of fun options for this die set that I think you could really create a ton of fun cards using this. I actually created a total of 2 of these rainbows and I ended up with a total of 4 cards. And the reason I got so many cards out of 2 die cuts is because I ended up trimming the rainbow in half. So I was able to use a half of each rainbow on each card, which helped me get a lot more from all of the work that I did for the watercoloring. I'm going to take now both the cloud and the sun dies from the Happy Days die set, and I'm going to die cut these both from some watercolor paper. I've chosen the watercolor paper because I'm going to keep doing some watercoloring with my Zig Clean color markers. But again, if you're using a different medium, you could change out the paper for cardstock if you need to. So now I'm going to add some shading to these little clouds. It's hard to tell because this gray is so light and I'm blending it out with water, so it's very hard to see the coloring that I'm doing here. But what I'm doing is I'm adding some shading along areas of the cloud to help give it some puffy dimension. And you'll see this a lot better as it dries back. Here I'm taking some of the yellow and I'm going to go ahead and add some of that to the center. I'm using a very light color. Blending this out with my water brush, and now I'm going to add in a much more intense yellow and add a bit more shading to the center area. And I'm going to go ahead and blend that out towards the edges of this die cut. Alright, so here I've got my rainbow pieces and my sun. I'm going to add some texture like I mentioned earlier by taking my distress sprayer and spritzing a bunch of water droplets all over these little arches. And what this is going to do is after I've added all these water droplets and I've let them sit for about, I'd say maybe 30 seconds to a minute, I dab them up with a rag. You can see here I'm doing that. And that lifts off some of the color and gives me this great water splotch look, which is very similar to the effect that you can get with distress inks. This is really fun and something that I really love about these Zig Clean Color markers. Alright, so now I'm going to get started on building my cards. I'm taking some liquid glue here and I'm adding this to the back side of my rainbow arches. Now I'm only adding this to about half of the arch, and this is because I want to be able to cut this apart and use the other end for another card. So I don't want to add glue to that yet because I'm not ready to glue that down, of course, onto another piece of paper. So I'm making sure not to go all the way to the edge, and I'll go ahead and keep pressing these down until I have them all attached. You can use any type of liquid glue you prefer. Here I'm using some PPA matte adhesive. This is the liquid glue I like to use, but you could use Ranger Multi Matte Medium, Tombow Mono Multi Glue, anything that you have on hand that you like to use. After I've glued them all together, I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and trim them down right down the middle. And I'm going to do this in one quick pass so that way I don't end up with any areas that didn't get cut cleanly. After I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and glue these down onto my cardstock for the other card that I'm creating. And again, like I said, I created a total of 2 rainbows, so that ended up giving me a total of 4 cards. Once I've glued those down, I'm going to go ahead and start popping up my little clouds. I've added foam tape to the back side of each little cloud, and I ended up cutting one of the clouds in half, so that way I could layer them on both the left and right hand side of this card panel. This card panel is die cut with the Simon Says Stamp Stitched Rectangle dies, the largest of the dies. Next, I'm going to go ahead and trim my sun. I'm taking the rainbow die, and I'm going to go ahead and trim the sun with that die. And what that's going to do is that's going to give me a perfect arch that matches up perfectly with the top arch of that rainbow. This is a really easy way for me to be able to go ahead and nest this right up against my rainbow and make sure that it lines up completely. So I'll go ahead and make sure that's adhered down good. And then next, it's time to go ahead and stamp my sentiments. Now, it wasn't until now that I realized I had forgotten to add the sentiment when I already had applied the clouds down onto my cardstock. However, I quickly realized that it ended up being okay because I could take my Misty stamping tool and apply that stamp down right on top. And I made sure that I got a good impression by doing a double stamping because that puffy clouds were a tad higher. So I wanted to make sure that I got a good crisp impression. So after I stamped that down, I went ahead and stamped the other sentiment onto the other card. And now it's time to add some sparkle and shine using some Pretty Pink Posh Sparkling Clear Sequins. I'm just going to use some glossy accents to attach these down. You could also use a bunch of other different types of embellishments if you prefer. I like using sequins, and you could also even leave these cards plain without the embellishments. They looked really fabulous even without the sequins. So if you were going for something more clean and simple or more kid-friendly or even eat something that's just easier to mail, go ahead and skip adding the sequins. It's totally up to you. So here's the card, mostly finished. I'm going to go ahead and mount this onto some colored card bases. And I also added a bunch of Spectrum Noir Clear Sparkle over top of both the rainbows and the suns on each of my cards. So that's going to do it for me. I hope you've enjoyed and got some inspiration on using the brand new Among the Stars release from Simon Says Stamp. Be sure to head on over to the Simon Says Stamp blog where you can get more information on these cards, including still pictures and products used. And also be sure to head on over there to get more information on the fabulous new release from Simon Says Stamp. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can find us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, as well as our blog. Thanks for watching!